What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by Tom. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing good. We had a good UFC event with Tom Aspinall going out there, starting Marcin Tybura just a couple days ago. UFC 291 is just a couple days ahead. Can't wait to talk about it with you, Keith. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You look well. You look
Yeah.
well.
So do you, Tom. You look like you're getting some sun out there.
That's a very kind thing of you to say. I am
Yeah.
certainly doing my best. The golf game is not improving, but we're making some strides. We're definitely putting effort in.
Nice. Well, I intend to visit soon, so we could do a in-person episode finally. But yeah, I'm pumped for this card. Tom Aspinall was sick though. Sick call out of John Jones. Saying he's going to fight the winner of Sergey Spivak and Cyril Gane, which I already predict will be Cyril Gane. Weird matchup. I feel like it should be Pavlovich versus Cyril Gane. Where has Sergey Pavlovich been? Is he the backup for Stipe Miocic versus John Jones? I'm not sure. But that I think they have the wrong Sergey in that matchup. But anyways, yeah, and then also speaking of title belts and potential title fights, you have Izzy calling Dricus du Plessis Dickless du Pussy.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was a good one. I don't know how that has been missed up until this point. I mean, that was right in front of our faces.
Yeah, it was easy. Dickless du Pussy, very easily.
Damn. I think he came up with du Pussy on the spot too. He was gonna say Duplessis, and then du Pussy came out. He's like, "Yeah, I'll roll with that, du Pussy." It's like, yeah, we all missed the obvious. Fuck.
That was a funny call out, but like personally, and this may paint me in a weird light, right? Like if there's more recent MMA fans or people that are a little bit sensitive to stuff, if you say that you're a du Plessis and Sean Strickland fan,
that's a rough combination of people. That is a divided person right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, people may think
I think that's both of us. So
right. Like I don't know. Like that's almost like saying to somebody you voted for 45. You never know how somebody's gonna react, right? Like if you're in the right circles and like people may be like, "Wow, that's great." In the wrong circles, though, people are gonna think that you're a bad person with unholy views.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, both of those guys have like shown that obviously the du Plessis thing has been blown so far out of proportion,
right.
And it's rules for thee and not for me. I mean, they don't make that case about any other time where somebody has called somebody out for not repping the country that they were born in, or only repping the country that they were born in, vice versa. Right. People represent countries from all over the place, and people call them out for that all the time. And all of a sudden now it's a problem because Juska said that he wanted to be the first African born, bred, and
yes, the first the guy that trained in Africa. Yeah. It's crazy. And then you have Sean Strickland, who also represents kind of like middle America.
But he also just went on Rogan for 3+ hours or whatever it is. And like you listen and you hear about the story of his life and you realize, oh, this is a damaged human. This is somebody who, like he talks about like his parents' relationship, and it's like, oh, listen, my dad did this, man. And like, let me tell you guys, and like everything that you think probably happened to create a person like that, it happened. So, that's a damaged person there. So you like understand the backstory a little bit, and then you're like, oh, okay, like whatever. So bottom line is
right. But hold on. Let's not overshadow the fact that he did admit to at one point being like a neo-Nazi.
That he did. That also came up in the interview too.
So that's why I'm saying, like, maybe somebody misinterprets what du Plessis says. And then, you have Sean Strickland with his history. It's maybe we're getting to that point in MMA and the UFC where like it's getting like really political with certain characters, so like weird spots. But anyways, either way, I just wanted to say I'm happy to see either of these guys in title contention, like going up for a fight against Izzy. I think both of them make for fun,
really interesting fights.
Yeah, they make for some fun buildups and some interesting fights. Sean Strickland, like I think du Plessis may be more deserving of it after finishing Robert Whittaker.
Mm-hmm.
But Izzy doesn't want to wait. Sean Strickland, I don't think presents as much of a dynamic challenge for Izzy when it comes to X's and O's. Whereas I think Duplessis kind of does because of his awkwardness. Not to get too much into that now. I'd imagine that fight will happen some point down the line. I don't think Sean Strickland's the guy to beat Izzy, but anyways.
Yeah, I hear you. I think, like you said, Sean Strickland's a little bit one-dimensional, and I would be afraid. I mean, maybe it wouldn't happen again, but where he came out against Jared Cannonier and he didn't really do too much. And it was very tentative. I would be afraid that would happen with Izzy because Izzy presents such a dynamic challenge. But also, Strickland, when he gets mad, he I feel like he's not the same guy or he's not a guy to repeat that kind of mistake. I feel like that's something that he would specifically be like, no, like I'm just gonna, trudge forward and he's gonna charge at Izzy, and maybe not charge, but at least keep moving forward and present a difficult challenge maybe for Izzy having to be on the back foot for the first time. So that would maybe potentially be interesting. But I think more or less it would just be the press conference that we're all tuning in for and watch. That's because it'll be polar opposites, right? Like how often does the guy who is the heavy favorite just get annihilated verbally by the guy who's the heavy underdog?
I saw a funny TikTok, and I don't want to like impersonate the guy's whole thing. I'll put him in the comments down below, but like it was a fake like Sean Strickland and Izzy press conference where Izzy's like, "You're Sean Strickland, well I'm John Wickland because I'm gonna stop you from breathing" or something like that. And then Sean Strickland's like, he paints his nails. Like it was so on point. I have to add the guy in the comments. It was so funny.
He paints his nails, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a fun build-up.
Here's the thing, guys. Let me tell you something.
Yeah,
he always says that.
Yeah.
Even on Rogan, he was like, "Here's the thing, you guys," and he's like just talking to Rogan.
And he loves saying huzzah too. Like if he says a line, like if he has bars, right after he'll be like huzzah. I'm telling you, just listen for the next time that he starts speaking. It's so funny. But yeah, that would have been a fun build-up. I don't think Sean Strickland's the guy to beat him. So like we'll probably get Dickless Duplessis. Just kidding. That's my boy. I can't say that, yo. But we'll probably get that fight in the future. But yeah, just interesting title news, and in response to Tom Aspinall, one thing you can't shy over, which we kind of did, but John Jones is like, "Oh, good luck with that," or something, So
yeah, I don't know. John's fucking annoying.
Yeah, I don't think he'll stick around long enough for a Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen with John Jones.
True. He could get locked up tomorrow.
Always on the table.
Yeah, facts. All right, you want to jump into 291?
UFC 291. I'm excited. Let's jump right in with the prelim notables, right?
Yeah. All right. As we always do, prelim notables. You want to kick us off, Tom?
Yeah, I'll start with Jake Matthews taking on Darius Flowers.
Nice.
Jake Matthews has been a new and improved version of him, although he's coming off a loss against Matthew Semmelsberger. He actually looked really good in that fight, and that's another reason why I'm actually interested in the Matthew Semmelsberger fight on this card as well. But Jake Matthews has kind of had an up-and-down career. He had a really big statement win over Andre Fialho where he knocked him out with a right cross, and he stated that, this is the new Jake Matthews. And he came out hard against Matthew Semmelsberger, fought to a decision. That was an extremely good fight, and both guys' stock raised there. So just because he is 1-2 over his last 3, I don't think that should count against him. He's 28 years old and he's continuing to get better. And I really like what he presents. He's got fast hands. He needs to work on his head movement a little bit. He is hittable. He does make some mistakes, but he's got a good grappling base. He's not the fastest guy in the division, but he has solid speed, mixes it up fairly well. And I think that he brings an interesting challenge to Darius Flowers. I think he's going to be the bigger guy. He has a slight reach advantage. I think he has a lot more UFC experience. And coming in off of, a shoulder injury from a slam win on the Contender Series, in terms of competition, he's been all over the place. Hasn't been a great test of Darius Flowers' skills. He's another guy who's decent in a lot of different areas, but again, it's hard to really assess that when you're going against lower level competition on the regional scene. Some of these things are even hard to find. Find recordings of losing by submission, losing by getting knocked out, getting key locked in what was his 11th, 12th professional fight. Just not good signs for Darius Flowers at this point. So I'm going to be going with Jake Matthews to get this one done.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Who is he? The Celtic Kid? Yeah, I'm right there with you on Jake Matthews. Very impressive last time around. Well, not last time around, but second to last fight. Yeah, Jake Matthews, all around really, really well rounded. Was supposed to fight Miguel Baeza, who, while he has been losing, Miguel Baeza is a really good stand-up fighter. You'd have to imagine Jake Matthews is just training those hands. He's already got really good hands. Getting ready to fight a guy like Miguel Baeza and coming in here against Darius Flowers, it's not really as much of a challenge. Jake Matthews was a minus 185 favorite against Miguel Baeza. I'm not sure how that's going to look. I haven't seen it updated since Darius Flowers has stepped in, but I'm still all about Jake Matthews here. I've been really impressed by this guy. So I'm going to tell you with that pick.
All right. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Miranda Maverick over Priscilla Cachoeira. And, this is a kind of an easy one, right? Miranda Maverick is great at wrestling. Priscilla Cachoeira was a underdog her last time around against Ariane Lipski. But Ariane Lipski doesn't present the same challenge that Miranda Maverick does. Miranda Maverick is a great wrestler. And, she's very talented and has lost a lot of fights that the fans have thought that she's won over, the past couple of years or so. She's taken part in some of the worst robberies in the history of MMA and maybe the worst in women's MMA period. The only really legitimate loss, I think, coming off, her record, her past 5 fights maybe is Jasmine Judasovicius. I can never say that name right. And Erin Blanchfield. But other than that, Miranda Maverick, great wrestler. I expect her to, just take Priscilla Cachoeira down, out wrestle her. And I don't think Cachoeira's hands are going to be that big of a problem for Miranda Maverick because she closes the distance really fast in her fights. She throws a couple of punches, just to draw her opponent's eyes up. But also the threat of the takedown is always there. So she can use that to her advantage. But the takedowns are big for her, and then just top control, which is weighed very, very, very heavily in women's fights. So I'm going with Miranda Maverick. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup for the fact that, Priscilla Cachoeira is coming down from 135 pounds. She's going to be fighting at 125 pounds here. I think that is going to present potentially an interesting challenge for Miranda Maverick more than it would if these women were both the same size. Also, you have Miranda Maverick at 5'3". So, she's going to be severely disadvantaged in terms of size in this fight. And Priscilla Cachoeira is nicknamed the Zombie Girl for a reason because she has the ability to take damage. Not that women's MMA really, they're dishing out, incredible amounts of damage. Regardless, Priscilla Cachoeira does get hit on the feet, but she also wants to return. Miranda Maverick, I think, will still have enough grappling to be able to get it done. They weigh women's MMA differently. At least it seems to be that way. I don't necessarily expect them to be scoring based off of damage. I expect them to be scoring based off of who's moving forward most of the time and who's in the dominant positions. And Miranda Maverick, I think, she'll win at least the ground game, probably some clinch game if that happens to happen. Terrible English by me, but I'm still going with Miranda Maverick.
Very well said. Yeah, you touch on a lot of stuff that I missed there. I like it. Just further back me up there. So what else do you got for these prelims?
Roman Kopylov taking on Claudio Ribeiro.
Good.
This one, I'm going with Roman Kopylov. He looked really good in his most recent win over Punahele Soriano, where he got the knockout. That was something that he followed up. The really impressive win over Alessi Chirico over knockout. I feel like I'm remembering him as not that big of a knockout guy, or maybe it was just my judgment getting clouded by
I don't think he was UFC.
What was that?
I don't think he really was pre-UFC.
Yeah, so I think I was going to say that was my judgment being clouded by the fact that his first 2 appearances in the UFC were against Albert Duraev, where he lost a decision, where Duraev does take a lot of damage, and got submitted by Carl Roberson. So I think maybe that was clouding my judgment, and he came back out, took a little bit of time off here, maybe, about a year or so, came back against Alessi Chirico, combination of punches, looked very good there, and only improved against Punahele Soriano. So I've liked the versions of Roman Kopylov that we've been seeing. He is a pretty decently sized guy, decently well built, so he's strong in a lot of areas. Certainly, the ground game is not his central focus. He is a stand-up fighter. But being Russian and having a little bit of size to him, unless you're really good and really determined to get those takedowns, I think Roman Kopylov will keep the fight standing. And against Claudio Ribeiro, he's not a guy that comes in with a ton of talent. He doesn't have a ton of speed. He's not that accurate. I mean, he's, I guess, maybe solid in the middleweight division. But I think Solid might be doing a little bit more of a stretch, considering his win in the UFC is against Joseph Holmes. We like Joseph Holmes as a guy, but in terms of UFC fighter, he's just not proving to be, a top echelon guy, and certainly not somebody that, good fighters really are going to, hang their hat on their wins. So he's got that win. He lost to Abdul Razak Hassan. And he's got a left hook win on the contender series over Ivan Villanueva. And then, you go back and you look at the rest of his record, and it's extremely questionable in terms of the records of the people he's been facing. And then that in combination with the skills we've seen on display inside the UFC and the less than impressive wins that he has at that level, I have to go with Roman Kopylov all day. He's fought the better level of competition. He's quicker. He's more technical. He's more accurate. I think he's better trained. And being with the fact that these guys are basically the same age and basically the same size, I think the 3-inch reach advantage for Claudio Ribeiro is going to be basically nothing. And I think Roman Kopylov is going to run right through him.
Yeah, I mean, that and Roman Kopylov's his counter hook is nasty. I like him. He throws mean, nasty combinations and always seems to find somebody's chin. I actually spoke out of turn. I was wrong. He was a finisher before the UFC. The guy is a big time finisher. Just the combos are nasty. He's slick. He's a cool kickboxer. The ground game is pretty shit. Not gonna lie, but against Claudio Ribeiro, he'll be fine. So I'm going Roman Kopylov this week. I like to pick a lot. I want to talk about Derek Lewis against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And Derek Lewis, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's been losing a lot recently, right? Like Derek Lewis was up there for belts and interim belts, and he's kind of fallen off, right? He's out of his last 5, he's 4-1 with a win over Chris Daukaus.
1-4.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 1-4. That's kind of miserable. I don't know. I mean, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, a little too new to the UFC to be taking on a guy like Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is a dog. He's got that knockout power. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, 1-4 over his last 5. I'm willing to take Derek Lewis at dog money. I mean, just the power behind that guy's hands. He's got bricks for fists. He may be the real Poatan in the UFC, right? He's got the he's not the all-time finisher anymore. I think Charles took that from him. Is he still the
he's definitely in contention for it, right?
Yeah, he's up there. Definitely. I think he's like either first all-time or tied for knockouts of all time. So, obviously an impressive resume for Derek Lewis. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. And a win over Marcos Rogerio de Lima would help that. He's still a little bit green, de Lima, in terms of UFC experience. And Derek Lewis has been here a while. What are you making that face for?
Rogerio de Lima has been in the UFC for a long time, pal.
Really?
I mean...
Oh, you know who I may have been thinking of?
2014, a long time.
I may have been thinking of Waldo Acosta for a second there when I said that. Yeah, you're right.
It might be. Right. I mean, listen, anyway, I completely agree with you. I think Marcos Rogerio de Lima, both of these guys are around the same age, and they're,
yeah, Derek Lewis is powerful. Fuck it.
Yeah, Derek Lewis is powerful. Rogerio de Lima doesn't knock too many people out these days. You look at the level of competition he's been facing. He lost to Blagoy Ivanov, which I think Blagoy just recently got cut from the UFC. I could be wrong about that. Andrei Arlovsky, he submitted him, but Andrei Arlovsky is like damn near 50 years old. Waldo Cortez Acosta, again, that's a newer guy in the UFC, and not particularly skilled. So just his wins aren't great. Derek Lewis, at least it's against top level competition. You're against Tai Tuivasa, you're against Sergey Pavlovich.
Right.
Even Sergey Spivak is towards the tops of the division. Yeah, so I think Derek Lewis taking the step down in competition is, I think we're going to see a knockout.
Yeah. That mental mistake was because I haven't had a Zin yet today. I'm putting in my first Zin of the day.
There you go.
Yeah. Nicotine is a nootropic.
That's not a lie. That's true.
Yeah.
Gabriel Bonfim and Trevin Giles
Yeah.
is another one that we wanted to talk about and highlight. I think it's going to be Gabriel Bonfim. I don't think he is going to go the same path of his brother, although if he did, that would be nuts. Aren't they twins?
I don't know.
I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
Either way, I think Trevin Giles, while being decently well-rounded, I don't think he's particularly good in any particular area. Gabriel Bonfim, very similar too. I mean, very well-rounded, good on the feet, better on the ground. I think ultimately he's going to run through Trevin Giles. He's plus 240 at this point on Tapology. I think Bonfim's a little bit of the bigger guy. Trevin Giles, like I said, being moderately well-rounded at all things, but not particularly good at anything. Having a split decision win over Preston Parsons, Louis Koske. None of these guys are particularly, great. And then, having the ability to be knocked out by powerful punchers. I think Gabriel Bonfim has the ability to find that off switch. He's accurate, he's powerful, and he's got that ground game that's, proven to be really good. And, I don't see him dropping this one like his brother dropped the other one. I mean, listen, who was it? It was Benoit Saint Denis. Benoit Saint Denis is an absolute dog in there, and we had even mentioned that Benoit Saint Denis, had an actual shot, and that was a very hard competition for Israel Bonfim. Israel Bonfim? No, Ishmael Bonfim. So
Ishmael.
Yeah, it was that we knew going into that was a hard competition and a big step up for him. Gabriel Bonfim is not taking the same challenge with Trevin Giles. While he's moderately well-rounded in a lot of areas, I think Gabriel Bonfim should run right through him.
Yeah, Trevin Giles is good, but the Bonfim brothers are really good, and it's just about I don't want to say grooming them, but almost like grooming them in a way where you have to like level up the competition gradually in the UFC. And I think that's happening easier for Gabriel with a fight against Trevin Giles than it would be against, for Ismail than it did against Benoit Saint Denis. Saint Denis is good, solid competition, way more solid than Trevin Giles. I agree with everything you said. I like Gabriel Bonfim this week.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, want to head to our main card picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Kicking off the main card.
Yeah.
Yesa taking on Kevin Holland. What a banger.
Yeah, this is going to be a great fight. I'm going with Kevin Holland here. Kevin Holland, Kevin Holland is Kevin Holland. I won't say he gets better or worse with every fight. We know the areas that he lacks in, right? Like his ground game isn't really that great against a guy like Michael Chiesa, who specializes as a wrestler and has a pretty solid submission game and just like a good like point wrestling game plan going into a lot of fights. But Michael Chiesa is kind of out of his prime, and Kevin Holland showed us against Santiago Ponzinibbio that he's still got top tier striking. That fight between him and Stephen Thompson was an absolute banger of a fight. If you haven't watched it, I think that was UFC Orlando. That remains one of my favorite fights of last year, or was it this year? It's July. Maybe it was January of this year. Anyways, great fight. Kevin Holland he's still got it. Michael Chiesa is slipping a little bit. He hasn't been super active. It's been quite a bit of time between fights for him. A loss to Sean Brady, a Darce choke loss to Vicente Luque when Vicente Luque was kind of lighting the world on fire for a little bit. But I'm going with Kevin Holland. I don't think Michael Chiesa is gonna really be able to take him down because Kevin Holland keeps he stays back at range, fires off those kicks. Kevin Holland's like a piston when he wants to throw something straight down the pipe, whether it be to the body or to the head. And he's really good at keeping his opponents back. And Michael Chiesa is a guy that needs to get in a range, like close range to get a takedown. Right. So I'm going to go with Kevin Holland here. He's going to outstrike Michael Chiesa, avoid being on his back, and win the point striking game potentially. Maybe his ground game is getting better, right? Like he did finish Santiago Ponzinibbio by choking him out. Yeah, so I mean, but just even that, I think the striking is good enough. What do you got, Tom?
Well, listen, I think he's training under Travis Lutter, and Travis Lutter has said that Kevin Holland was one of the most talented fighters he's ever had the pleasure of training with, and it's just about getting dialed in. And I think at 170 pounds, that's really where Kevin Holland is going to get dialed in because his weight has to stay in check, and he can't allow himself to, kind of be frivolous, sometimes. And I think he keeps his focus on fighting. Against Michael Chiesa, he's going to be the much bigger guy. He's going to have a much longer reach. He does have pretty solid takedown defense, and he has really good jiu-jitsu once he's down there, offensive jiu-jitsu. Kevin Holland does make the occasional mistake sometimes I don't know if it's a mistake or if he's just pursuing excitement, but either way, he doesn't always make the best decision in terms of, what's going to win him the fight. He's a little bit like Michael Chandler in that way, except he doesn't put himself in harm's way quite as much. He's a much better on the feet. He doesn't really get hit all that much on the feet. Other than, when Stephen Thompson broke his hand, probably from a block, and then he just kept, getting it blocked so he couldn't throw it. Kevin Holland is one of the toughest guys out there. He's one of the most entertaining guys inside of the UFC. He's good all over, and I think at 170 pounds, he's really primed to make a run here. Even his losses, like you said, against Stephen Thompson, he probably could have taken Stephen Thompson down when his hand wasn't broken and, had a lot of success, but he chose to do a stand-up battle because he's an entertaining guy and he really wants to test himself. I think that's all credit to Kevin Holland there. And then, you look at the Khamzat Chimaev. He took that on short notice against Khamzat Chimaev, who's, big for an 85. So for that reason, I think, Kevin Holland is even more of a G, and he went out there and I think he defended, one takedown, or maybe Khamzat didn't get it right away, regardless of what transpired. And I don't remember every single detail. I do remember being moderately impressed for at least the first 10, 15 seconds with Kevin Holland's ability to stay on the feet, or at least not let Khamzat Chimaev take him down. So with that being said, I think Kevin Holland is sneaky good takedown defense. And I think Michael Chiesa does have the opportunity to get in on him. And I think he may even take him down, but I think Kevin Holland's going to inch himself back to the cage. I think he's going to try and get Michael Chiesa in maybe, some sort of like Kimura or arm triangle or something like that. Something relatively basic that Michael Chiesa maybe forgets about and then finds himself trapped in. Like I said, he got caught in the Darce choke by Vicente Luque when he was winning that fight, and he got caught out of nowhere. And I remember he was so disappointed in himself. That's when he stormed off, and they WWE style followed him through the back of the thing. So, Michael Chiesa is definitely, an emotional fighter. And I think he's going to potentially be prone to mistakes because of that, especially if the fight's not going his way, especially if Kevin Holland rocks him on the feet with those, like you said, piston-like hands or the, swift kicks. Now, my only concern is he fought Santiago Ponzinibbio 2 months ago, right? And he looked phenomenal. And that was his first fight back from the hand injury. Yeah. So I'm thinking Kevin Holland is going to start this card off with a bang. And Michael Chiesa, I think, it potentially, if Kevin Holland starches him like too soon into the fight, I think Michael Chiesa could say peace.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that you just jogged my memory with him walking out of the octagon, like not walking, storming out of the octagon.
Storming out, yeah.
Yeah, and freaking out because he did get sloppy against Vicente Luque. A Darce choke from my limited jiu-jitsu practice, 5 classes, but Darce choke. If you're inside control, when you see that coming. Anyways, a guy as talented as Michael Chiesa,
a guy who touts his ground game as much as Michael Chiesa touts it, shouldn't be getting caught by Vicente Luque in a Darce choke. Especially in that situation where he was in a scramble. Like if you're the jiu-jitsu guy, you should be winning the scrambles.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be getting out scrambled. Certainly not being submitted by Vicente Luque like that. And even if you do, you're a professional athlete. Be storming off like a WWE superstar or a 6-year-old girl. Is not a great look either.
Yeah, that's like a little leaguer that like struck out. Like, bro, chill. Vicente Luque is not that guy to be putting in the Darce, and Michael Chiesa got Darce. So next up, Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. It is absolutely wild to be seeing Tony Ferguson as a plus 260 underdog.
Have we ever seen someone in the UFC with this loss?
Yeah, Sam Alvey.
Yeah, Sam Alvey.
Yeah, right. Duh. No, I'm just kidding. Sam Alvey. But let's be honest, that Justin Gaethje fight changed Tony Ferguson forever. That was probably the beginning of the end. Here's my
I mean,
prediction for this fight. I just want to say it real quick. I think Bobby Green TKOs Tony Ferguson. I think Bobby Green avoids a lot of Tony Ferguson's like weird, awkward strikes, follows up with his own, TKOs Tony Ferguson somehow, maybe slipping something and coming up underneath Tony Ferguson. We see Tony Ferguson leave or get cut by the UFC. And then we have Tony Ferguson versus Mike Perry in the bare knuckle fighting championship. That's my prediction for the timeline. Not going to go any deeper than that. We all know Bobby Green has really good slips, really good head movement, really good counters. And Tony Ferguson is not the Tony Ferguson of old. So you could clip all that. That would make for a perfect TikTok. I think I'm going to cut that and make a TikTok with exactly what I just said. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah. The only thing I could see is because Bobby Green kind of has that unorthodox style where sometimes he's like leaning out a little bit and he's kind of like daring you to throw something at him. I mean, I could see Tony Ferguson if he somehow summons some speed from, 35-year-old Tony Ferguson and just up kicks him the way Michael Chandler up kicked him. I mean, that would certainly be a storybook ending if this is the fifth fight or the last fight on Tony Ferguson's deal here. Go out with a bang like that. But I just don't see it happening realistically. I think Bobby Green at 36 years old, approaching 37, probably, towards the latter stages, if not out of his prime. I think he's still a very, very solid fighter. He had that draw against Jared Gordon because of the clash of heads, but he was doing very well against Jared Gordon in that fight. He's got the loss against Drew Dober in which he got knocked out, but I really liked his ability in that fight. I think he looked solid there, and Drew Dober is solid. No, you're not knocking him out. Islam Makhachev, can't take anything from that. But Nasrat Haqparast, Al Iaquinta, Bobby Green has fought a laundry list of the UFC veterans. And he's looked good, and he's taken his losses 29-14 with one draw. Listen, at the end of the day, he's got a very accomplished record. He's been doing this for a long time. He's still got some very solid speed. He's still got some ability to knock you out. He's got some power behind his shots. He's creative, and he's a very entertaining fighter. These are two or some of the most entertaining fighters the UFC has ever had. They're going at it a little bit late in their career, but I think when both of these guys, if we got this fight 3 or 4 years ago, I think this would be particularly entertaining. Now, I think it's a lot different now because Bobby Green, didn't hit as a high of a point in his career, but I think at this point he's still getting better and he's retained more of his skills than Tony Ferguson has at 39 years old. So for that reason, I'm picking Bobby Green. I think he's quicker. I just think he's the better fighter now. Age has a lot to do with that. Miles, in terms of damage that you've taken, has a lot to do with that. And also Tony Ferguson, I think he's a guy who probably takes a ton of damage in training as well, because he's just so go, pound to the pavement, kind of David Goggins on steroids mentality, or David Goggins on acid rather. That's really good. I didn't realize that before, but Tony Ferguson reminds me of a David Goggins on acid. So anyway, I'm got to go with Bobby Green here, but this is going to be a fantastic fight. I'm super excited. And I hope Tony Ferguson looks good.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. You put that really well with the David Goggins on acid bit. Looking forward to Tony Ferguson in the bare knuckle fighting championship. That's pretty much it. I mean, Bobby Green at 29-14, he's probably one of the most respectable journeymen in the UFC. Tony Ferguson has had a great career as well. I wouldn't really put him up as a journeyman. I did see a sad meme the other day that was like, this time period is basically coming to an end, and it was Khabib champion, Dustin Poirier #1, Justin Gaethje 2, Tony Ferguson 3, forget who 4 was, and then Dan Hooker was in the top 5. And it's like, yeah, it really is coming to an end, because if Tony Ferguson's career lasts longer than Saturday, it's going to be as an entertaining fight guy. Dan Hooker is maybe working his way towards, the ranking.
Yeah, on his way out a little bit.
Yeah, he's probably on his way out, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hey, he just had a good performance.
But that era is pretty much over. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about 2 of those guys later on, but there's a reason why they're fighting for the BMF championship, and if this isn't a #1 contender fight. Yeah.
You tell the truth.
Yeah, but anyways, great fight. That era is over. That Habib championship era is pretty much over.
Speaking of someone who was part of that era, Stephen Thompson fighting at 40 years old. Be the
Yeah.
first time he fought at the Big 4-0.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Stephen Thompson this week against Michel Pereira. I like Michel. He's fun. He's entertaining with his stupid little backflips on his opponent's faces, right? Like Nico Price backflipped onto Nico Price's face. But I think Stephen Thompson is way more technical. Michel Pereira is a little bit more like flashy. He gets a little bit silly from time to time, right? Like he wants to be an entertaining fighter, and Stephen Thompson clearly wants to be entertaining as well, as proven by his last fight against Kevin Holland. But he's still so much more technical, and he's still so precise. I mean, it's insane how much of a sniper Stephen Thompson still is, right? Like you have a lot of fighters talk about how their vision kind of goes away with time, right? Or their like you had George Masvidal talk about it, and a lot of other fighters that have retired recently, where it's like their head doesn't move the same. They see something coming and they don't move, or they see something they can set up and they can't set it up as quickly. But Stephen Thompson, and we spoke about how good Kevin Holland is, right? He's going to open up this card with a bang. Stephen Thompson is still that precise, right? His head movement is still on point.
Powerful enough to break Kevin Holland's hand through the guard or in his guard.
Yeah,
and
no,
pick him apart after that.
He's still wildly precise with all of his attacks, and his head movement's still on point. He's not going to be fighting for a belt anytime soon, but will he remain one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC? Absolutely, as proven by that Kevin Holland fight. 5-round banger. I think it went 4 rounds, but an absolute banger. And against a guy like Michel, Michel's a little he's a little too wild in there, and I think Stephen Thompson's going to pick him apart. Did I articulate my love for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson enough there, and just how impressive he is at 40 years old? Or I mean,
I can go. Came across.
I can keep going if you want. Like
no, let me go. At the end of the day, I mean, I want to talk a little about Michel Pereira, who is a very flashy fighter. He throws a lot of kicks, throws a lot of spinning things. But the reality is that he doesn't throw them when he's particularly in range, and it's not that difficult for his opponents to see them coming and get out of range. A lot of times it's flashy, and it almost looks like he's trying to intimidate them to a certain degree. He makes a lot of unnecessary movements, and it's basically the opposite that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson does. Everything he does, and even though he moves a lot in his stance, nothing's unnecessary. He's doing things to throw you off, to create to get your reaction, to gauge, what you're going to do, and then boom, hit you with the sniper stuff. So, not to say that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is a second coming of Jesus, although if you've seen this guy talk and interact with people, he very well might be. I think the reasoning that why he's able to still react so well is because he's, came from karate. His dad has managed his career in a way that he's been able to take time off when he's had damage, but also he just doesn't have damage a lot because of his style, because of the active front leg, because of how, nimble he is and quick when he jumps back and forth in that stance that he's, really kind of trademarked. So for all of those reasons, I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at 40 is really very similar to another fighter at 37 or 38 years old. So he's rewinding that clock a little bit. Now he's not as fast, not as snappy. You can definitely see a little bit in terms of his speed diminishing. And, he used to make whap sounds, and I'm sure he still does, but there's definitely something taken off of that. And that's just something that comes with age. And I'm thinking that he'll still be able to. So if he can pick apart Kevin Holland, I'm not sure that 6 months is going to have that much of a difference on him. And he's still going to be able to go out there. And I think he's going to pick apart Michel Pereira. I think he's going to use that active front leg to jab him in the stomach or jab him in the face with it, like a jab, then come back with a right hand and drop that down right on him. And I think Michel Pereira is going to be open, and he's going to get taken advantage of more or less from Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's IQ and fight experience and reaction time, really, than just being overpowered. But Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 40 years old, I think he's going to be good, and I can't pick against him until he gives me a reason to. And Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad, he was fighting them at 38 and 39 years old. They still felt the need to take him down. I don't think
Right.
Pereira's going to try and take him down. It's not his game. And Wonderboy Thompson doesn't have bad takedown defense. If you can get him down, props to you. You'll win there, like Bilal and oh geez, I forgot. Gilbert Burns were able to do. But other than that, I think Wonderboy's going to keep it standing, and he's going to pick Pereira around. It's a 3-round fight. I think he ends him in the second, maybe.
Ooh, you think he's going to finish him? I like that.
I think he could potentially finish him in the second. Listen, he finished Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland broke his hand, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin Holland has exceptional durability. And at the end of the day, I could see it happening.
Yeah.
Michel Pereira is a lot more wild and has a lot worse defense than Kevin Holland does.
Yeah. I don't know about the finish, but I definitely think a Stephen Thompson win is imminent here. And I think it's a tailor-made fight for him because, it's going to be his battle. And, I think against a guy like Pereira, who he's not really the guy to take somebody down. I think it's a tailor-made fight for Stephen Thompson. He's going to pick him apart. Next up, Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. I'm going with, actually, surprisingly, I just want to check this out on best fight odds because it seems a little bit bizarre to me. And where is it? It's not here on best fight odds. Okay, maybe they have to update. Well, Tapology is telling me that Alex Pereira is a plus 100 underdog. I'm rolling with Alex Pereira plus money. This is a guy that he's not going to have to cut as much weight as he used to fight at middleweight. Those couple of fights against, guys like Sean Strickland and, Izzy and whoever else he knocked out down there at middleweight. But I think that this heavier Alex Pereira is going to have more power behind him. He was walking around allegedly at like 220, 230 when he was fighting at middleweight. He's probably walking around much heavier. It looks like his ground game has improved. He's wrestle fucking Glover Teixeira in
a lake somewhere.
Yeah, in Kayak Rapids somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I guess if it's a life or death circumstances, your grappling is going to get better. But either way, I don't think that Jan Blachowicz is the type of guy to lie down on Alex Pereira. It's a 3-round fight, right? Yeah, 3-rounder. It took Jan Blachowicz 3 rounds to realize that he should wrestle fuck Izzy. I don't think he's going to do that against Alex Pereira. The wrestling may be better for Jan Blachowicz, like it may be in his favor, but who knows with a guy like Alex Pereira training with Glover Teixeira. But I think the power is really is in Alex Pereira's favor. I think these two guys are going to strike. Jan Blachowicz, strong leg kicks. Alex Pereira is going to be chopping right back at him. They're going to be throwing bombs at each other, and I think Alex Pereira is probably going to land something on Jan Blachowicz's chin and maybe put his lights out. Alex Pereira is coming off a knockout, and Jan Blachowicz don't really get knocked out. But I'm going to roll with Alex Pereira at underdog money. What do you think, Tom?
I'm going to roll with Polish baller Jan Blachowicz for minus 120.
Put that arm back. Put that arm back again. Damn, dude, look at those guns. You're not even flat. Holy shit.
I'm going with Polish power, dude. At the end of the day, it's not because my last name's Kowalski, but I just think Jan Blachowicz, at this point, what was that?
You ever see the penguins, the Madagascar penguins?
Kowalski, yep, Sash reporter. Yeah. Listen, I think Jan Blachowicz is going to not make the same mistake that he did against Izzy and take 3 rounds to realize that he needs to wrestle to get this guy down. I think he's going to be, maybe not I think he's going to have more weight than Alex Pereira is. And I think, even though Alex Pereira has been training with Glover Teixeira in terms of the grappling, I don't think that that's going to be enough to fight off Jan Blachowicz. I think Jan's going to be very smart. He's going to go in there. He's going to know he's have to grapple him. Jan Blachowicz has the ability to kick people with his shin on their shin and be fine. And I think that that's something Polish power that Alex Pereira may not be used to. Even though he has a long kickboxing background, I think that's something that's going to be different than people he's faced before. And then, having to face the takedown from Jan Blachowicz is not necessarily his specialty, but listen, he can do it. And Pereira, no matter how much you try to gain grappling over the last 3 or 4 years, it's just not something that you're going to be able to do as well as people who've been doing it their whole life, especially not when they have a, size advantage over you. And, Poatan Pereira is 6'4", has that long reach, but I think Jan Blachowicz is going to make him look a lot less intimidating from a stature standpoint. And I think you're going to see that Jan's going to be a lot thicker than him. He's going to be willing to trade on the feet. He's got a good chin. He's got strong, knockout power when he does land. Pereira's just been knocked out 2 months ago. This is a very quick turnaround for him. And it's not like he's super young at 36 years old. I think this is potentially shaping up to have everything going against him. If he can win, it's going to be great for him and definitely rockets him right to the top of the division. But there's a lot going against him here, so I'm going with Jan Blachowicz for even money.
Yeah, the 2 month layoff kind of bothers me a little bit here, but I think for the storyline, Alex Pereira has to win, right? Like we need Izzy to then come up to light heavyweight again and fight Alex Pereira again. I feel like that's the way that things are going to go down. But and I am going to take Alex Pereira by finish. I like that. Anyways, main event time. The baddest mother effer belt. The Rock, I don't think is going to be in the building to do this one. He did he did the Nate Diaz George Masvidal one. That was okay. Anyways, I think Dustin Poirier, he started as, I think this fight started as even, and he's like slowly making his way as like a decently heavy favorite as the days go. And I think that's justified. I think that I don't think Dustin Poirier is ever going to hold lightweight gold. I think if he was smart, he would have like done those, that potential welterweight fight against Nate Diaz and maybe tried to make a push up there for, a welterweight title shot. Cause I think he has a better chance against a guy like Leon Edwards. But anyways, I just think Dustin Poirier is going to pick apart Justin Gaethje this week. Like he did the first time around when these guys fought. Dustin Poirier is really impressive. I don't really like him as a person. I like Justin Gaethje more as a person, so like this pick isn't biased at all. I think Justin Gaethje is much more fun and interesting as a person, and Dustin Poirier is kind of a douchebag. Like if he finishes Justin Gaethje, he's gonna get in his face and like talk shit to him. But anyways, I think he's gonna pick him apart. The boxing's too good. Dustin Poirier learned that Justin Gaethje loves leg kicks and applied that to his own game going forward against Conor. We saw that the last 2 times those guys fought, and even against Michael Chandler too. I think Dustin Poirier's ground game is much better. Like Justin Gaethje looks like there's something physically repelling him from going for takedowns. I think it's going to be a boxing clinic for Dustin Poirier this week. And he's going to pick apart Justin Gaethje, who's a little bit more wild. And who's Justin Gaethje's striking coach? Also, Rose Namajunas, the striking coach.
Trevor Whitman.
Yeah, Trevor Whitman's going to be smiling when Dustin Poirier finishes Justin Gaethje this week. It's a good pay-per-view, I will say. Like for a card that doesn't have a title fight at the top of it, Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje showed that they carry a lot of weight in this company, and I think this is still going to be a pay-per-view that sells out. Like I'm having friends over for it, so
You know what I'm realizing?
Yeah, what?
What is Justin Gaethje's best win?
Did he beat Eddie Alvarez?
Edson Barboza?
Maybe Michael Chandler.
Or Rafael Fiziev?
Yeah, well, that was an impressive win over Fiziev. I'm
just not seeing enough here to beat the Poirier resume, number one. Justin Gaethje gets hit a lot, and I feel like we've seen him be stumbled more and more, closer to more of a knockdown. I think he's actually even been dropped a couple times.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Oliveira drop him?
yeah, the most memorable one I was going to say was Charles. It was a short, tight hook, and he dropped Justin and secured the choke.
I think we could potentially see a TKO here. I think Dustin Poirier's got very precise boxing.
Yeah,
He showed that is in no way diminished, and at 34 years old, it's not like that's necessarily starting to decline just yet. He's still like in his prime. So I don't think he's going to go down. I think it comes down to a fundamental ability for these guys to box. They don't throw too many kicks. Both of them have solid enough grappling. Justin doesn't use his, and Dustin might use his. So you call it a wash there, maybe slight advantage Dustin. It's going to be a striking battle, and Dustin Poirier is still learning and adopting new things, and Justin Gaethje just hasn't at all. I think that's why this fight doesn't excite me all that much, because I don't feel like Justin Gaethje has really changed or evolved as a fighter at all. He just goes in there with reckless abandon, trusts his chin, and he throws wild hooks, and he tries to be entertaining, and when he wins, he does backflips. I think that's Justin Gaethje to a T. And Dustin Poirier, he's gonna go in there and he may try and take a takedown. He may push you up against the cage if things aren't necessarily going his way, or just to try to change what's going on. But ultimately, he's gonna go in there. He's gonna throw some leg kicks at you. He's gonna box you up. He's gonna come with pressure, and then he's gonna be intelligent about when he pursues. So I think Dustin Poirier is gonna win this fight from a better boxing perspective, a better fight IQ perspective, stamina management. And I think Justin Gaethje is going to leave too many holes. He's going to get pieced up. I don't think his game has really been evolving. And I think Trevor Whitman had a great, I think it was 2021, but 2022 last year. And certainly so far this year has not been
yeah, it's been
the end of a
shit.
win. And then, like I said, we just went through the resume of Justin Gaethje here, and it's just nothing compared to the Dustin Poirier one. Dustin Poirier is by far and away a better boxer, striker, you name it. So the pick's Dustin Poirier, and I think he maybe gets it done in the fourth round again.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit too, Dustin Poirier as well. He learns from fights. Like we've seen him rematch guys, and he actively learns. And if you watch like Embedded or things like that, he's spoken about Gaethje's leg kicks, and then we've seen from that fight on, we've seen Dustin Poirier really check leg kicks. So I don't know what else, what else there is in Justin Gaethje's game plan for Dustin Poirier. I think it would be wild if Dustin Poirier beat Conor McGregor by, essentially breaking his leg. I know Conor went in there with leg injuries, but, check the body kick or the leg kick with the elbow. Just knowing how much Justin Gaethje likes to throw that rear leg kick, so strong, so powerful. But if he checked one of those, who knows what could happen, right? Like imagine Dustin Poirier, win by leg break, right? I mean, that would be wild.
Get two under his belt there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, we know how talented he is when it comes to checking the leg.
As Conor would say, there was no chick. There was no chick.
Yeah. Close. That's not a little bit more Russian than Conor, but
yeah, it's not a long quote. But regardless, there was no check for the foundation, and there was no leg kick check. So
media. Yeah. Anyways, you want to go?
Dams, hey baby.
You want to do the pick rundown?
I'm ready. Let's go. All
right, let's do it. All right, starting at the bottom, very first fight, I'm going with Miranda Maverick over Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm going with Jake Matthews over Darius Flowers, Roman Kopylov over Claudio Ribeiro, Derek Lewis, the underdog this week against, I'm taking him over Marcos Rogério de Lima, taking Gabriel Bonfim over Trevin Giles, taking Kevin Holland over Michael Chiesa, Bobby Green over Tony Ferguson, Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy over Michelle Pajeda. Also, I just want to mention how excited I am to hear Wonderboy. It's a great walkout song. Waiting for the day that Jack Black walks out Wonderboy. He was supposed to against Kevin Holland and flaked, I guess. But then I'm going with Alex Poatan Pajeda over Jan Polish Power Blachowicz. I don't even know if Polish Power is his real name, but I love when he says Polish Power. I wouldn't even be upset about that. But
legendary Polish Power.
Main event, I'm going Dustin the Diamond Poirier over Justin Gaethje. What do you got, Tom?
I am going with Semi the Jedi over Euros Medic. I'm going with Jake Matthews over Darius Flowers. I'm going with Roman Kopylov over Claudio Ribeiro. I don't know if you can hear my stomach right now. It's going crazy. I'm going with Derek Lewis to get the knockout over Marcos Rogério de Lima. I'm thinking Gabriel Bonfim is going to finish Trevin Giles. Kevin Holland might even finish Michael Chiesa. Bobby Green might even finish Tony Ferguson. Stephen Thompson might even finish Michael Bajeda. Jan Blachowicz might even finish Alex Bajeda. And Dustin Poirier might even finish Justin Gaethje. High finish potential this entire card. Let's go.
Yeah, the only one that we don't get along with, I think, is really the Bajeda Blachowicz fight. And that's going to be an interesting one, right? Because of the implication. If you're an old funny fan, you'll get it.
We need to get like a clip because of, and then click the implication.
No, but there are very real title implications there. The implications. But yeah, that's an exciting one. That may be the fight that I'm most excited for on this card. We were supposed to have Paulo Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov.
Yeah, but apparently that was never signed. Like allegedly, according to Paulo Costa, it was never signed. And now we have Paulo Costa versus Hamza Chimaev, so that's even better. So
my buddy at work, and I've shouted him out on here before. This is the last thing I'm going to say before I wrap it up. But my buddy at work goes, he always calls Hamza Chimaev. He always calls him Kismov because he can't say anyone's names right. And he's always like, yo, so Kismov is fighting Paulo Costa, right? That's pretty crazy. I was like, yeah, that is pretty nuts. Kismov is, yeah, whatever. And I was like, yeah, but Ikram Aliskerov is supposed to fight Paulo Costa, and they canceled that. And now Aliskerov is fighting Nasruddin Imavov. And he was like, what did you say? Like, Ikram Aliskerov versus Nasruddin Imavov? He was like, I don't even, what? Like,
I have no idea what you're saying to me.
So that fight, I'm looking forward to talking about that one because that one's going to be a tongue twister. Ikram Aliskerov.
Looking forward to it.
Nasir.
We only refer to them by their full names too when we're breaking it down.
Yeah, we have to. But just want to remind all the people at home, please like, comment, subscribe. We had a couple of comments in here today. That was nice. You can check us out on Spotify if you can't watch a full YouTube video. Tom's also really good about clipping up the fights. I mean, the individual fights that we talk about, and putting the time stamps in the description. So check all that stuff out and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @_Pickin Winners, @Pickin Fights. I'm @Pickin Keith, and Tom is @Pickin Fights Tom. So yeah, thanks for being here and spending your Monday night with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Tom, as well.